check on you in the morning.
But be quiet.
Okay, 6 o'clock, I'll call this meeting to order, so welcome to our regular council meeting, September 21st. Wow, it's 9 days before the end of the fiscal year and already the latter part of September. So I'd like to ask Councilman Rustin to lead us in the invocation.
Sure, let's pray. Dear God, we thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight, God. We thank you, Lord, for just the year that we've had, and Lord, I ask you to continue to bless the city as we continue out this year and head into next year, God. God, I ask you, Lord, just continue to watch over the city and every day, and Lord, be with the people that protect it, and just make it go to day-to-day basis. I ask you, Lord, to be with the meeting tonight. Let the things be discussed for the benefit of the city and the citizens of Columbiana. And I ask you just let us continue to have a good week. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you'll rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if I could ask the city clerk to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Lilly. Here. Mizell. Rustin.
Here.
King. Here. Phillips.
Here.
Mayor Mitchell.
Here. Okay, we'll take a look at the agenda. I won't read it. It looks like a lot, but it's not really quite that much. A lot of items on the consent agenda that we should be able to get through fairly quickly. Okay, so the consent agenda includes the approval of the September 7th regular council meeting minutes, the approval of the September 16th special called council meeting, and the approval of the September 16th council work session. Also included on the consent agenda, which didn't get put on this chart, is we are reappointing and appointing some members to various boards and committees for the city, and I'll just read those. So we're reappointing Helen Gibson to the Beautification Board. This is a reappointment. She's already on the board, and her term will expire on the 1st of October 2024. Reappointing Lisa Davis to the Beautification Board. Term expires the same time. Reappointing Micah Walker to the Planning and Zoning Commission or Board, so that term will expire on the 1st of October 2027. Reappointing Teresa Whiting to the Library Board. Her term will expire 1 October 25. And a new appointment for the Library Board is appointment of Gladys Beasley, and her term will expire October 1st. And she is replacing, remind me, Billy Jones, who's actually chairman of the Library Board, so the board will have to elect a new chairman. So unless there are any changes to the minutes or if there are any other nominations for board appointments, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Okay, let's go ahead and do a voice vote. Roll call vote, if you would, please.
Councilmember Lilly. Yes. Rustin.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes. Okay, so the consent agenda has been approved. There it was. It was on a second chart. Okay, so department reports. We start with the police department. So,
on our safety, we have no job injuries. On our budget, we're currently on course with our 2021 budget. Personnel with full staff. All of our vehicles are working. All of our equipment is good and working. And our training continues for 2021. We just had several officers to get through the hostage negotiating training, as well as REACT training. And John Hall is our Officer of the Year for 2021.
okay, congratulations to him. So, what is REACT training?
Basically, it's dealing with disabilities and how to handle those individuals during certain situations. Mental health, patients as well.
Okay. Well, that's a good report. So any questions for Lieutenant Knighton?
How many officers now, Lieutenant?
13.
13.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll move on. Admin.
We have no safety issues. Our year-to-date revenues are up and expenses are down. We are fully staffed. Training is up to date. Our only yellow item is facilities. City Hall needs to be updated, but that's just due to age. There are no repairs at this time. We did include some updates and upgrades in our fiscal year 22 budget. And that budget is on the agenda to be passed tonight.
Yeah. So along those lines, normally we would take a look at the numbers for the year-to-date, but since we're at the end of the year and we're getting ready to review the 2022 and adopt it here, we'll just forego that today and look at the 2022. Any other questions or
What
comments?
type of updates do you think the city hall needs?
We're doing like painting, flooring, new chairing in here, new chairs, some electrical work.
Did we by any chance hear anything on this lighting grant, or has that been
I
awarded
have not gotten
yet?
anything from them, just the thing saying that, yes, they received our application, but I haven't gotten anything
Okay.
saying it was awarded or not.
Yeah. Did we know when it was supposed to be awarded, or do you recall?
There was some kind of November date.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it was.
So we would not have heard
awarded
yet.
then, yeah.
So that was one thing. We were going to look at perhaps updating the lighting with some more energy efficient type lighting systems. And it would be not just this building, it would be other buildings as well. And we were looking at doing that with a CDBG grant, I believe it was. Okay. Any other questions for the clerk, for administration? Okay. Public Works.
Everything's running pretty good. We've had no accidents, budget's online, staffing is down. Our vehicles, we've just got old vehicles eventually we're gonna have to replace and everything. Training's fine, we're working on the facilities and everything. I have to say, the paving on North Main Street, all through Main Street's about 90% completed. They got a few side streets they gotta finish putting the entrance in and out on them and everything, and the painting that they're putting down now, I'm about 90% sure it's just temporary till they can get the people in here. And I think tonight, they're probably gonna mill the rest of Mildred Street out here, so.
I haven't been down since they did the milling on Mildred, Thompson Street, if they milled that or.
I don't think so.
Or pits.
As of today, they didn't.
Okay.
The stumps and stuff over on the Mooney Road, all that's completed and stuff. And other than that, that's all I've got. I'm just trying to find some people to go to work.
Okay. Any other questions for Alan?
Main Street looks good. Smooth.
They get striping down, cleaning. Well, after that, I gotta find out if we're gonna have to clean the mess up, cause there's gonna be a mess to clean up out there where they done that grind and milling and stuff.
There are still some side areas too
Yes,
on
they
Main
got
Street that
some
need to
side
be done.
streets they got entrance in.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Alan. Court.
Court's attendance is still up and running good. Court is on track with their budget. Our expenses are down. We're fully staffed. Court collections is up. Everybody is either coming to court or they're making their fines. All of our equipment is up and running smoothly. Both me and Brianna both leave tomorrow to have our training. We have ordered our second kiosk for downstairs for when they arrest people, so they don't have to come up in the lobby. It's going to be downstairs, and hopefully it'll be here this week or next.
Good.
And we'll just have it mounted on the wall down there for them.
Good.
So that third bullet that you're taking your laptop with you in training.
Oh, yes.
Uh,
We are taking the laptop with us. That's just if the kiosk sometimes is very funny about like certain charges, it will require, it says court required appearance.
Uh-huh.
Even though it's been settled and they pled head or the judge found them guilty, we have to go in there and clear it every so, like, release it for a payment.
Right.
And that's why the kiosk hangs up sometimes.
I guess my question for that was, can you issue, like, you taking it with you, so you can issue a warrant out of
Yes, sir.
town? Or what?
If, just say, Sergeant Lulu needs a warrant, all she has to do is either email, text, or call us, and I can, or Lieutenant, I'm sorry. I can do it there, and it can go straight to them,
Okay.
and all they gotta do is issue it. Yes, sir.
So you can do that anywhere you are then, basically?
Yes, sir.
As long as you have
I
your
that
laptop.
laptop, yes, sir. And I can, just by chance, if the phone systems or something's not working up here, I can take a payment through the phone,
Okay.
or through my laptop.
Any other questions for the magistrate? Okay, thanks, Liz. All right, board reports. I know there was I believe there was a beautification board meeting.
That was, and we just,
Were you able to attend that?
we had, if I can think, we're we're verifying who all's gonna be on our tour of homes. We're working on that. We're working on, with Main Street, Alabama, about the decorations for downtown for fall. And that's about it so far.
Okay.
Pat stepped down from the chairperson, so Lisa Strickland Davis is now our chairperson.
Okay. Any other boards?
The park board will meet next month, but I do have a couple updates. So we'll probably have to move forward and talk to the fence company to get that started for Bolton and Lewis for, I guess, after October, between October and February. So I've already talked to Alan about that, and we'll reach out to the fence company on that one. Some repairs are made by Alan and his crew at Bolton. They've got the health department coming in Wednesday. Lewis, I'm sorry. Yeah, Lewis. And refrigerators put in today, so all those improvements down there are moving forward. So after we get this new budget passed, if it passes tonight, we'll move forward with all the other stuff. So things are moving along. We'll meet next month and start looking at next year. So
Who's doing the fence work?
probably, I'll tell you after. Probably, yeah, I'll tell you at the meeting. So there's two. We got bids basically from two fence companies. So we'll probably go with the lowest submittal
Quotes.
quotes. Yeah. So I can share those with you. Yeah.
They should be finished playing in
End of October.
October.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay. Any other questions for Recreation Board? Comments? Any other boards? Okay. We'll move on to, I don't know why I did that.
I do want to say before
I meant to do that.
Before you move forward, I do want to say thanks to Al and his crew. I feel like I've talked to them for the last week or so, just about every day. So they did a lot of good work around the park, especially they put the peak. Another thing, they put the peak gravel in the park, pressure washed all that. Yep. So. Yep. So you did. Very good.
Well, you can play in there when it rains, right after the rain, and
Yeah.
if it would have been mulch, you wouldn't get in there for a week.
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is a resolution to adopt the fiscal year 2022 budget. So what I want to do before we go into the adoption of the resolution is just a real quick overview of the budget. The bottom line is we've got about $12.6 million of revenue and cash that are available to us. The budget for expenditures is planned at $10.1 million, which will lead us with a net surplus of about $2.5 million. So I'm going to go into just a little bit more detail. This is the sources of the revenue. About $6 million is our general fund revenue. Most of that is tax revenue, sales tax, ad valorem tax, etc. The other operating revenue is revenue associated with sewer, the cemetery, and the court, and that's about $1.5 million for those three. And there are restrictions on how that money can be spent. Primarily, the sewer, for example, goes just to support the maintenance and the upgrades to the sewer. Similar as far as court and cemetery, although there are some nuances there. We might be able to use that revenue elsewhere under certain circumstances. Gas tax restrictions on that revenue and this is the state gasoline tax. That has to be used for road repairs and upgrades. State Capital Improvement Fund is the name. Those funds come from the state, and as the name implies, that has to be applied to capital improvements. So revenues from those various funds total about $7.6 million for 2022. What we have, though, is about $2.8 million of revenue from prior year funds. Some of that is revenue that's been accumulating for a while, and some of it is we received some revenue from the American Rescue Plan Act, which is in there. We've got some revenue available from refinancing the city's debt and so on. So we're able to roll that into the revenue, giving us revenue for fiscal year 22 for both 22 and the prior year of 10.4, almost $10.5 million. No, 10.4. And then we have about $2.2 million in cash, which is where we will end up the fiscal year. So that's where the $12.6 million comes from in revenue and cash. These are all the budgeted expenses. As I mentioned, the sewer, which brings in a significant amount of revenue for their fund, but they also have a lot of expenses. This includes this $2 million here, which is the largest budgeted expense for 2022. Includes expenses associated with a sewer upgrade that we had hoped to get done this year. We had some delays with one particular property owner as far as getting an easement. We finally got that taken care of within the past week. And so we should be putting this out for bid within the next week. And then once we get the final I's dotted and T's crossed relative to the easement, we will award the contract and repairs in 22 as well. So those are the big ticket items that you see up here. This is what I call a pro forma cash flow because it's important to see how we're going to pay for the $10 million that we have budgeted for here. So basically, this is where we think we're going to start with all these funds, the general fund, the gas tax, and all these other things that we mentioned. We'll have about $5 million to start the fiscal year. We'll bring in about $7.6 million of revenue from these various sources here. And then these are the expenses. And what we've tried to do is match the expenses up with the fund that will pay for those expenses. We have some flexibility on this, with the exception, as I mentioned, these gas taxes can only be used for road improvements. And most of these other things down here can only be used for like capital type improvements. So bottom line, it's about $2.5 million surplus, of which $1.6 million is cash. So is there any questions or further discussion on the budget before we move to the resolution from the council? So I'm going to recommend to the council that we adopt this budget, and I will entertain a motion to adopt resolution 92105.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution 092105, adopting the 2022 fiscal year budget.
I second.
Okay, well, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lilly,
Yeah.
Rustin,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes. Okay, so the resolution and the budget for fiscal year 22 is passed. So the next item is pretty much a formality. It's authorizing me to sign a contract with River Tree Systems for auditing services. Charlene could do a much better job of explaining these auditing services. But this is a requirement every year, and for us to enter into contracts for me to execute a contract on behalf of the city, it requires council approval. So can you give us a little overview there?
River Tree is one of the companies that does our auditing, and they can audit business license and sales tax from our businesses. But it's one that we would send them names of businesses to audit, but then if they're auditing another city and find something that may also belong to us, they can ask us if it's okay if they audit while they're auditing for another city. They send us the money, and then we are billed just an hourly rate for their auditing services.
So this is mainly just to make sure that we're receiving the sales tax and license funds that we should be receiving. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments?
We've been engaged with them for what, a good bit of years now?
Yeah, several years.
At least 12 years. Who we've used River Tree and RDS for like the last 12 years.
That's right. And they're basically the same type of function, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt resolution 92106?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we accept the resolution 092106. It's authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with River Tree Systems Incorporated for auditing services.
Second.
Okay, let's do a roll call on this because this is spending money too.
Councilmember Lilly? Rustin?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell?
Yes. Okay, resolution is adopted. Is there any other discussion or business that anybody on the council would like to bring up?
I don't know if it's the right time, just real quick. I think, and Lieutenant Knighton knows where, there's been a lot of vandalism in the schools lately. And I think that vandalism is carrying over to our parks a lot. And it's something I've brought up a couple times in the past, especially the parks in front of the elementary school and especially the park on the complex. We really need to look at some type of surveillance system. We were taught, I was in a meeting last week and already knew about the system. There's a couple of systems out there that I thought we could probably leverage. On this side of town, we could probably leverage off some type of fiber deal. I don't know how much fiber runs down through here. But on McDowell Road, I don't know if it's an opportunity to leverage off the county police department fiber optics or something like that. But I think we really need to consider some type of surveillance in any place we can, especially in those areas. We're getting a lot of vandalism at those places too, and we don't have a clue who's doing it, and it's frustrating and it's bad news. So just as we go forward, we need to think of some solutions there to get that stuff done.
What's the appropriate committee or board from the council that might look into that?
We can look at it from the park perspective, and go from there. I mean, I know a contact that does it, but I think from a city as a whole, I think we probably look at it. I don't know who did the one at the Arts Council. You can get as sophisticated as you want to. You can get just maybe something, just get the job done. But I think it's something we really need. It's going to really come down to fiber, something like that. But on that side of town, we just don't have that capability as we do on this side.
Okay, we'll look at the appropriate council committee and assign it there and take a look at it. We'll look at options and costs, et cetera, and capability. That's an important thing. Any other items of old or new business to discuss? Okay, the mayor's report. I am pleased to report that Columbiana is one of 30 municipalities in the state of Alabama that has been accepted for participation in the Alabama League of Municipalities Economic Development Academy. This is their inaugural class. This is the first time the League of Municipalities has put this together, and they've put together quite a team of resources to support this effort. The community colleges system of the state of Alabama, Alabama Power, and on and on and on and on. So I'm really happy about that. The orientation for that kickoff of that program is the 1st of November in Montgomery. The program lasts a year. It requires our team from Columbiana to attend the orientation session on the 1st of November, and then they will give us the schedule for the other sessions. And we have to attend there are 4 training sessions and then a final session. And during the course of this year, the team that we put together from Columbiana, which from the council includes Councilman Phillips and Councilwoman King and myself, and then there's 2 other at-large members of the council on the team, which is Kathy Hitt from the farm company. She's representing the retail businesses in our community. And Chris Strickland from Dunn Company is representing the industrial businesses in our community. So requires attendance at 4 different training sessions. And what we will be required to do is do an economic vitality survey of the city. I'm not sure exactly what that entails, and I'm assuming that we're going to learn that at the Economic Development Academy. And then we will have to select an economic development project, select it, put together a plan for implementation of that project. And then I think our little graduation ceremony is to brief our project to the other teams and to the League of Municipalities, which will be about a year from now. So I think that's good for the city of Columbiana. Now, kind of along that line, on September 20th, we hosted at the Old Mill Square at the Grand Hall all the Shelby County municipalities to listen to a presentation and have discussion with Patty Etheridge, who is the project and grant coordinator for Senator Tuberville. And as I brought up at that meeting, that as we focus on economic development for Columbiana, that we're going to be looking for sources of funds to help us with that project. And so clearly, understanding where to get grants and what grants are available is important. And Ms. Etheridge has been assigned by Senator Tuberville to help all of Alabama with grants. There are billions and billions of dollars of federal grants that are available every year. And I think she said, if I'm not mistaken, that Alabama ranks 48th in the nation in receipt of grant money from the federal government. And it's mainly because of either apathy or we just don't know what we're doing. So we've been looking at the possibility of hiring a grant writer, or more than one, obviously. And we have hired grant writers in the past. But want to take advantage of this opportunity to work with Patty Etheridge to understand more about what kind of grants are available. She can't, Senator Tuberville and she can't write the grants for us, but they can help us, make us aware of what kinds of opportunities are available. So then I wanted to go down to that, speaking of grants, the wastewater sewer project. If you see, many of you may have seen this on Facebook over the weekend and saw the raw sewage sign out there in the parking lot next to the old U.S. Bank building in the Piggly Wiggly area. And this is the sewer project I mentioned earlier that we were awarded a grant, a community development block grant, I believe in November of last year, the beginning of this fiscal year, to help us with this sewer project. So it's something that's been on the books, and it's been delayed because of getting easements. Primarily one property owner was holding us up, but we got that worked through, and hopefully we'll get started on that. But that's the reason why the raw sewage sign was there. That basically there's like a confluence of sewer lines in the area right there in front of the bank, and these are old terracotta type sewer pipes, and they don't have enough capacity to be able to take everything that comes in, and then it feeds out from there obviously to the treatment plant. And so when we have heavy rains, then it backs up. And ADEM, the Alabama Department of Environmental Management, is who requires us, when we see the water bubbling up out of the manhole covers, to put out the raw sewage signs. When the water recedes, then they treat the area with lime for sanitization, and then they'll usually put some straw on it to kind of cover it and absorb it. But so that is an example of a grant that we did hire a grant writer to help us with, a local one. And so that's a project that's important for us. But all the flooding is associated with stormwater management, which is a different thing entirely from the sewer. So that backup and that flooding, even though you see all that water out there, that's not necessarily because of sewer backup. That's because of stormwater issues. And if you look at the next bullet there, stormwater drainage project, that is the neighborhood Depot Street, and has significant stormwater issues, as do several other places in town every time we have heavy rain. That occurred this weekend as well. And so we discussed it at our council work session, or one of the recent ones. I don't remember if it was this last one or not, but we have discussed engaging an engineering firm, and we did have that engineering firm come and talk to us, and they will be giving us a proposal to do an analysis of various, what they refer to as basins in the city, where we have stormwater issues, and they're going to help us develop a plan and prioritize where to fix it. But you can see two areas right here on this chart that would probably be priority areas. And we have also discussed in some of our work sessions with the council probably using most, if not all, of the American Rescue Plan Act funds for stormwater issues. That's not a done deal, but that's the main thing that we have discussed. And at some point in time, we will have to make a commitment as a council as to whether or not we're going to use that. And then the last thing we talked about, Alan talked about, the city paving projects. They were about 4 months late, but they're finally underway. So Main Street is mostly done. We'll be milling probably Mildred Street tonight, and that's one of the other streets. Thompson Street and Pitts Drive, I think, are also on the plan. And then we've identified some other areas for next year. But we can finalize those plans as we go forward. So that's about all I have to report. Announcements.
I have a question about the stormwater real quick. I wonder if there's some type of analysis that can be done, because how many inches we get between Saturday and Monday? Probably 6, 5.
Saturday, we got between Saturday and a little over 5 inches.
And it fell within a few hours. And I don't know if there's analysis out there saying if it gets above this, you could have the best drainage system in the world. I just don't think, there's a lot of things that still can't handle that much water. And I think that people really don't understand that a lot of times, because if 6 inches falls, there could be a pipe as big as this room, and that's a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought on two things. First, let me address we discussed in our initial meeting with the engineers that when they give us their proposal, one of the things that we would like for them to analyze is what kind of capacity we need to handle what rate of water over what period of time. And to your point, you can have a 100-year flood or whatever, right, and you're not going to be able to do it no matter what happens. So they will make recommendations on what they, because not all of this obviously is going to be underground sewer. It will be just working with some of the storm drainage ditches and whatnot. And the other thing that we talked about is what is the adequate size, because homeowners, when they connect to a street, if they build on a lot or something in town, all they have to do is get a permit to connect to their driveway to the street. But we have no ordinance or code or anything that says the drainage pipe needs to be X diameter and whatnot. And so we asked them to look at that and make a recommendation as well. So, but you're right, at certain times, but on Saturday, there was a period of time where we had some heavy rain, but on Saturday we had sort of like a constant rain
Yeah, it was
all day long.
Yeah.
And so I think that is more responsible for what happened on Depot Street. Is that you had not only the deluge, but then you had that continuous rain all day long. I actually went out and drove around because I got some phone calls and some people concerned about it, wanted to take a look at it. And by the time I did that, much of what we saw in the picture on College Street in front of Piggly Wiggly had already receded and wasn't there anymore. So
Yeah, we were in the area on Saturday morning. I don't know, in the Piggly Wiggly parking lot closer to Jack's, there was a car that was in that parking lot over there that I've never seen. I mean, they couldn't get to it because it was underwater, basically. And I don't think I've ever seen it that deep over there. And even behind it, the water was raised over the grass and the hay in the field. So, I mean, it ran a tremendous amount of rain on Saturday for all day.
So I think what you're doing is agreeing with me that we have a need for stormwater drainage management and the funds that are available to us through the American Rescue Plan Act might be wisely spent on that.
But I do think there's an education piece there, too, to say if it rains 6 inches in a certain period of time, it's going to be, I mean, we could build the most elaborate drainage system.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, is, when we see things like that, we think, oh, well, we can go clean this ditch out or clean that pipe out or whatever. And those are oftentimes temporary fix, which is why we discussed this with the engineering firm. We need you guys to tell us what the optimum permanent solution is. And they will also be looking at the topography of the ground and how the water flows and things like that. Sometimes we think it's intuitively obvious, but it's not always.
Right.
And so hence, I think the need for a study. We haven't seen their proposal. I don't know if we'll get sticker shock or not, but we're waiting on that. Okay, sorry. Any other comments on that before we move on to the announcements? Okay, Alan?
All right, October is super busy. Saturday, October 9th is the Shelby Ironworks Fall Festival. Friday, October 15th is Main Street Columbiana's Farm to Table Dinner. And then Tuesday, October 19th through Saturday, the 23rd is the Shelby County Fair. Homecoming is October 22nd, and there will be a parade downtown and the game that night. Then Monster Walk is Friday, October 29th. Saturday, the 30th, is the Witches Ride, and then the Great Neighborhood Trick or Treat. So, busy couple of months.
Yeah. Okay. All right, this is where we open up to any comments from anyone? Questions, comments?
I got a couple of quick things,
Yes, sir.
comments. The Helen Lewis softball field and my background, back when I used to work, a lot of it was safety. And I know we've got a crosswalk in front of the elementary school to the playground, but on the days when they have all those tournaments for the weekend, I think it would be a big help while you're painting roads and all to put a big, wide, yellow walkway, maybe halfway. And because when you go, and I know that they'll put up signs and you slow down, but people just wander up and down there. And maybe if you put a big, wide walkway there, it would kind of, people like Cal Hurt, maybe they'll kind of go that way. It may help out, may cause a child to get in. Because I go through there, and of course, every time I turn, I think I wished I'd gone around, but I go real slow, but you're always afraid of kids running in front of you right there. So just something to consider.
When, are you talking about primarily when there's activity going on at the ballparks?
Yeah, just a big wide yellow, and people will kind of head toward it.
Yeah.
if it's not so far on the other end.
Right.
That, of course, that's just a suggestion.
Well, it's not the first time that's been suggested, and we've also, although we really haven't acted on it, we've talked about the potential of maybe when we have activity there, getting some temporary speed bumps out that we could put out and control traffic. But we've also talked to about the potential of while they're paving the roads. I mean, there's already a contract in place, and we're actually piggybacking on a county contract, but seeing if we might have the flexibility of adding some additional painting and striping, so that'd be something we consider for that.
Okay, one other thing. and
Yes, sir.
Y'all may tell me this, you know, is there any plans, have y'all heard any plans what they're gonna do with the old golf course?
So there has been a developer who has expressed an interest in perhaps building some homes on that property. The developer brought basically an initial plan or concept to the planning commission and presented it. And I believe, and that's been a couple months ago, okay? And I think the issue is the developer and the property owner not being able to agree on what's a fair price for the property. I don't know that, but that's my assumption.
My wife told me to ask that, so
Smart man.
Yeah, you were good, yeah.
put that on record.
It'll be in the minutes.
What's her name? No.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. If there are no more business to conduct, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.